And Jasmine Birtles runs the website moneymagpie.com. Jasmine, the bankers say these fees have plummeted, but how much do they still vary depending where you bank?
They vary a lot, and that's part of the confusion, really. I mean, for example, if you were, say, 5 days over your unauthorised limit, and maybe you did 10 transactions in that time, it could vary from £22 to £280. This is the confusion, really, because the different banks charge in different ways. Each time, if you're over your authorised limit, they might charge £5 per day or per transaction, could be £35 per transaction. So it really depends which bank you bank with, how much you're going to be charged.
Rachel Reeves MP, you think these fees should be capped. What sort of a cap do you have in mind?
Well, if you take out a payday loan, you can't be charged more than £22.40 over a period of a month if you borrow £100. That's 0.8% a day. I think it would be fair and reasonable to have the same cap for unauthorised overdrafts, so 0.8% a day. It's very odd at the moment that there is a cap on what you can borrow if you take out a payday loan, but absolutely no cap at all, as Jasmine has highlighted, if you go over your authorised overdraft. I don't think that's right. It seems to be a bit of a loophole to me, and one that needs to be closed down by the Financial Conduct Authority, and if not them, then by Parliament.
Jasmine Birtles, how much are the banks making from this?
Well, apparently $1 billion or so per year. And you know, on the one hand, you can say, well, that's a shocking amount on charges. But on the other hand, it's good to remember they are businesses, so they're going to make money in some way. And we're fairly unusual in this country in that we do have, as you say, theoretically, free banking. Certainly if you're in credit, you don't, on the whole, pay a monthly fee. Whereas in places like France, for example, America, definitely, you do pay a monthly fee, and quite often charges on top of that, charges for taking out your money out of the ATM, etc. So although I do agree with having a cap on overdraft fees, I think that we have to realise the banks, they're businesses. They need to make a profit somehow. So we need to decide, really, as a nation, what are we willing to do? What do we think is the fairest? Should we change to a monthly fee? Just say, OK, these are the fees. It's upfront. It's clear. And yes, we'll have a specific capped fee, very much capped fee for unauthorised borrowing, or do we keep it as it is and just have a very slight cap so that the banks can make the money there? Because frankly, they're going to make it somewhere else if this is brought down to a very low level.
Rachel Reeves, if the banks are making more than £1 billion a year, as we've just heard, from unauthorised overdraft fees, and they can't do that in future, they will charge for other things, and potentially they will charge for current accounts. That's the fear. Do you think that's fair enough?
Well, let me just say a couple of things on that. Payday loans continue, and the payday lenders still make a profit, even with the cap of 0.8% a day. And so I don't think that banks would become unprofitable if they couldn't charge these very high fees for unauthorised overdrafts. But let me just say two other things very briefly. First of all, it's about proportionality. And as that case from James, who you spoke to earlier, highlighted, the charges are just often not proportional to how much someone has gone overdrawn by. So if you go overdrawn by £1.83, you should not be charged £10 for that. And second, I have a very big concern about vulnerable customers. Step Change, another debt charity, when looking at customers who came to them over the period of a month, those who had racked up fees in unauthorised overdrafts over a year had fees of, on average, around £225. And these are customers who are experiencing very big problems financially, and the overdrafts are just adding to their woes. As James said, that those charges that he has had, £10 to £1.83 overdrawn, he has to make a decision about whether to eat properly or not that day or that week. And I just don't think that is right, that those customers who are perhaps vulnerable in financial difficulty, those are the ones whom the banks are making a profit on.
Rachel Reeves, you want the regulator to impose a limit on these unauthorised overdraft charges. As I said, they've looked at it and decided not to do that they've asked them to bring the charges down. It's voluntary. What do you think is the likelihood of another inquiry and the regulator setting a cap in the way you want?
Well, the Competition and Markets Authority published their report in the summer, and although it had some action, for example, on texting customers, giving them a grace period if they go overdrawn, they didn't set a cap. What they've said is that banks have to set their own caps, but most banks already have their own caps, so I don't think it will really see a reduction in fees. But the Financial Conduct Authority now have 90 days to respond to the Competition and Markets Authority report, and the head of the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, said at the Treasury Select Committee that their remit is wider than that of the Competition and Markets Authority, and they have a responsibility to look particularly at vulnerable customers, and they can act and take action in a way that the Competition and Markets Authority can't. So I'm still hopeful that some action can be taken and will be taken. But if it's not taken by one of the regulators, then I think that's when Parliament has to step in. Parliament did that with payday loans and set a cap. If the Financial Conduct Authority don't act and set a cap, then I believe Parliament must.
Rachel Reeves, the Labour MP for Leeds West, and Jasmine Birtles from the website moneymagpie.com. Thanks both.